Now, every once in a while, perhaps after a few years or so, mankind makes some drastic technological changes that just alters our way of life completely. Remember when we first discovered fire, how that changed how we lived and how we interacted with each other. Fast forward many centuries after into when we discovered the car and how long distances all of a sudden became so small and how we started thinking about the world becoming a global village. And then the recent discoveries in technology and ICT have just catapulted the world into a different sphere of life. When these discoveries happen and industry or technological disruptors, when these technological disruptors, as I like to call them, happen, they have the power to propel us to maybe 1,000 years of what our lives can be into the future, or give us a glimpse of what life was many millennials past. This is the power of technology, and these technologies are disruptive and they change the way that we live in everyday life. Let's take one sector as an example. You remember the changes and innovations that were made in the realm of science when we first started taking aerial and satellite images of the world? Israel was able to revolutionize her entire agricultural industry based off some of those findings. While we do not yet possess an access or direct ownership of such technologies as satellites in Cameroon, we now have access to the next best thing: drones. Even though still fairly new in their use around Cameroon, drones, when effectively used, can do more than just take aerial shots for music videos. In the hands of a skilled professional, they could be used to diagnose weather patterns, farm yields, soil composure and fertility, provide intelligence for architectural and structural designs, to name but a few. In my mind, we are so superficial in the way we use technologies that we barely ever scratch beyond the surface of their true potential. Take the Microsoft Office suite, for example. Probably the most common application in our computers and phones. But how many Cameroonians can use beyond Microsoft Word effectively? And even MS Word sometimes is only used by most people for typing. My point is, there's always so much more that can be done. And to fully develop at the pace at which the world is advancing, we must adapt and effectively use these new technologies and explore them to their very core. Not everybody has to be an expert, but we must at least task experts to provide us with the utmost of the reach of these advances in technology. Recently, I came across someone who's doing more with drones in Cameroon. He's using the technology to change the way business is done across many different sectors of industry. In agriculture, for example, he's helping farmers predict weather patterns, increase soil yields, and generally have more control and understanding over their farms. With agriculture playing such a crucial role in our economy, imagine how much value we could add to the sector if every farmer could use these opportunities. My guest for today's edition of the show is founder and CEO at SkyVue Solutions, a new company based out in Douala, and is basically changing the way we use drones. Ever heard of the phrase, do more with less? Well, that's what you get at SkyVue Solutions. They are elevating our perspectives, taking us higher into the air to provide more critical and an analytical look of the world we now live in. Come now, and let's have this conversation. So like I told you on today's edition of the show, I'm going to be elevating our perspective, taking us a little higher so that we can see the world better. And the way we're going to be doing that is with a drone. But before we get into that story, I just want to tell you something about perspectives. You know how you saw the image when you leave maybe from the southwest and you're driving into Douala, you pass through the Wuri Bridge. And if you were around Bonabasem or so, you really can see the entire bend of the bridge. And sometimes you don't see the full beauty of it. But then elevate yourself a little, stand on one of the tall story buildings around Dangote, or one of those places around there. Or maybe you're flying in an aircraft, and you see a completely different image. And some of the things that were so far apart become closed up together. That's what perspective can do for you. It can change your perspective in business. It can change that perspective in just about whatever sphere of life you're in. Now, this new technology we call drones is seriously changing the way that we do business, right? And today I want to take you to someone who is at the core and at the heart of that. And they're changing how farmers can do business. They're changing how you can control your construction sites and several other things that you can do if you properly know how to man a drone. As a matter of fact, I was thinking maybe we'd shoot this edition with a drone hovering over our head so you'd see a perspective of me from, then you see my bar head like that. Raoul, you're welcome to The Tipping Point.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
So this is Raoul Fossi and CEO of SkyVue Solutions. Now, I understand the sky and I understand the view. So why did you add solutions to the end of your name?
Okay. So first of all, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. So yes, SkyVue Solutions, and the emphasis on the solution was especially to not only call the attention to the ability for the drone to find problems, but also to say, hey, we're going to find the problems for you, but then we're going to now use a team of experts to provide solutions to those problems.
Okay.
So it's about finding problems with the drones and then using drones to provide solutions to problems.
Now, I like that you said that, but one of the challenges that we've always had, especially in the way that business is done, is we're quick in picking out problems, but sometimes the solutions evade us. We really don't know how to fix those solutions. So on a general level, how do you at SkyVue get to the point where you say, okay, it doesn't matter what we see on this terrain called Earth when we have that drone up there, there's a solution to this problem. How do you build that mindset?
So the first thing with the drones is that, like you said earlier, drones give you a different perspective on things. For instance, in a construction industry, a drone gives you an overview of an entire construction site before, even during the work. So with the drone, you can much easily plan your work. You can much easily follow up the progress, your work progress over time, and with what we do is that we help people, we bring the drones to people and say, hey, with this drone we can help you do things that you used to do in the past quicker, safer, and more efficiently. And that's the key. The key is not so much, and it's important that people realize that the key is not so much the drone. The key is the solutions that the drone, the problems that we can solve with the drones. And then things like how quickly we can get things done, how efficiently we can get them done, and how much safer we can get them done using drones.
So that actually leads me to my next question, because of course you're not the first person who's bringing a drone into Cameroon. I mean, they're everywhere now, and almost every music video wants to use them, and I personally like them, the feel of it. So what is it that you do different at SkyVue Solutions that makes us want to come to you for the solution to our problems?
So yes, like you said, I'm not the only person or the first person to bring drones, and there's a lot of people that have actually worked with drones before, that use drones for various things. The thing that we do differently is that we use the drones in technical applications.
Okay.
And what this means is that rather than just send drones and take pictures in the air and say, oh, well, cool looking pictures, which is nice and something that we do too, we use drones to do what is called photogrammetry.
Okay.
And what it is that essentially it's using drones to collect pictures on which you can make measurements. Okay. And these measurements are used in various fields like topography, in geometry, and measurement, so you can use it to measure surface area, volumes, elevation changes, and many other analysis that you can do even in plantation and agriculture.
So let's talk a little about agriculture. Yes. Off mic and in your office, I saw some of the work that you did in agriculture, measuring plant fertility, telling a farmer, okay, we have this view of your site. I'm sure we're even going to put that up. And so this part of it is probably going to be healthy and this part isn't healthy. So that is knowledge that is not provided by the drone. So where do you get that knowledge from to complement the images or the pictures that you take with the drones?
Okay. So the way that photogrammetry works for agriculture is that it collects, all that the drone does is that it takes a bunch of pictures. That's it.
Okay.
So now the drone works with, now we have softwares, licensed softwares, and we have also a team of experts in the background that analyze these pictures. And what the drone does is that it collects, so if you have a plantation of maybe 100 hectares, you would locate it on the map and tell the drone, hey, I want to survey this whole plantation. Yeah. It'll go up in the air and then sweep that entire area and take multiple pictures every second or so. And then once the pictures are taken, the pictures are brought back down, and then all these pictures are inserted into the software where they're stitched together to create this map. Now the software is now, and the team of experts now analyze the map that's created from the pictures from the drone, and then extract information from that map to provide answers to problems like, you know, what's the health status of the plants, and that's based on the color of the green and the growth stage and many other factors that are factored into the analysis of the information. And then you can do things like health status of plants. You can do things like a plant count. You can count exactly, you know, how many plants are in the field, and you can do a full process follow-up from the seeding to the harvesting. Yes.
So basically, with all of this information and what you can be able to gather with the drone, at a certain point, I feel like if I own a farm, I could sit someplace in Douala and relax on my chair and then send a drone over, and then you look at it, and then I would know how many seeds the guys were supposed to planted, which ones are not doing well, and I don't necessarily have to be on site.
So yes, that is semi-accurate.
Okay.
So with the drones, the thing that we do and what drone service providers do is that they provide services to owners to where they don't have to physically move every time to go figure out what's happening. Yeah. They send us to the field, and we go out to your plantation and we fly it. And then, I know we can't just send a drone there. You have to, by law, you're required to be physically present and have the drone within your line of sight when you fly. So when you fly, when you get to the plantation, we would perform the mission, fly it, collect the information, extract everything from it, and then provide it to the owner, to the customer, and say, hey, here's what we found at your plantation. And we can do that from seeding as soon as 2 weeks after the seeds are planted to detect what are the zones that are doing well, what are the zones that maybe didn't pick up and didn't need to be reseeded, and things like that. But we can follow an entire process for any plantation.
What are the repercussions of us being able to use technology like this for business? How do you think that changes the way that business is done in Cameroon, per your perspective?
So I think there's a couple of things. The first thing is that it allows us to work more efficiently, because rather than what normally happens is that business owners or plantation owners, what they would do is that to inspect the plantation, they would travel to the farm and then have to physically walk around the whole place and to inspect to make sure all was this.
Sometimes plenty acres you have to walk.
And most often you're not going to be able to travel the entire surface area.
Or even be effective in counting and issues like that.
And also even if you can, like, if you're dealing with like plantations, plantain or bananas, you can't see from above, and so you can only see what you can see, and there's a very limited view of how things are. Now with the drone, we can, first of all, so it takes you a lot of time to walk through that entire farm. Yeah. You have very limited visibility, and you're most likely not going to see everything. With the drone, we'll get you the drone gets you an aerial view of everything, analyzes the plant based on their height, based on the color of the green, based on the stage of growth, and gives you a very, very clear picture of how the plantation is doing in general. So from that standpoint, it's definitely beneficial, and it's a technology that's used everywhere in the world. Like I did my pilot training, my drone pilot training in the U.S., and most farmers, when you go to conferences, most farmers are moving towards using drones for analysis, and even like spraying plants and things like that. Drones are used for many, many things. So that's one. I think the second thing, which is probably the one drawback to the drones now, is that because we can use drones to do things more efficiently, it's going to mean that we're going to have to develop people to use these things.
Yeah.
Because the goal is not to just have technology that seems abstract. The goal is to make technology common so everyone can use it for their needs, and we can train average farmers and people in the country, or around the villages, to use these things. And even if they don't have the drones, if these are made available to them by the owners, they can perform the same functions, but be able to provide results in a more efficient and safe way.
Raoul, Fossi, ladies and gentlemen, you're on to the tipping point, and we're going to be taking a brief break, and we'll show you some of the things that you can do with these drones. I especially like what we did, what you did on the Wuri Bridge. I think I'm going to use that as my screensaver for I hope I can steal that, or you'd at least borrow me that for a little while.
Yeah, you can have it.
We'll be right back, and then we'll continue talking the business of drones. Don't go away. And you're welcome back. Now, Raoul, let's get to the crux of the matter, and this is you're going to have to allow me say this. I don't know how much time you spent in the U.S., but you're just coming back into Cameroon, and you're coming to start a business in I should say technology, in as much as you cover services that go into areas that are not necessarily technical per se, but in some ways they are. And you're starting a new business. And now my question is, especially after talking to you off mic, and I'm like, you know the number of people who die on the way from Mexico trying to cross into the States, and then this guy has been there for so long and he chooses to come back to Cameroon. Now, when you thought about your business and you were planning it and all of it, what was it about Cameroon that made you say, okay, I can start SkyVue Solutions here, and it can work? What did you see that the bulk of people don't see that made you came back even though they stayed?
I think that's a very simple question for me.
Okay.
And I get that question all the time. And I'd say the thing that made me want to be back, which, first of all, I went to the States to study. I did engineering and I worked. My intention was always to come back. If you see anyone that knows me, they'll tell you that the first thing I tell them is like, I'm going back at some point. But over time, the thing that confirmed that desire to come back is the potential. I think that being over there and seeing the way things are done, and seeing how people work, and how we use technology to work more efficiently, I realized that the difference between more developed countries and Cameroon or Africa in general is not so much that they're better. It's just that they work more efficiently. They work smart. They don't work too hard. They just work smart. And you work smart by using the technology that you have to do the things that you do on a regular basis in just a more efficient way, right? And that's how things like Uber were created, and things like Facebook were created. It's just like, okay, well, here's a problem. How can we create something that allows us to resolve this problem? And to me, when I look at the world in general, if there's a place that has the most potential, it's Africa in general, and Cameroon is no different. And to me, if you want to make a difference, which ultimately that's the big picture to me, is about impact. If you want to have the most impact, then you have to go where there's the most potential. And when I look at the state of things in Cameroon now and where we're at, I feel like we have the most potential. We have a lot of educated people. We have knowledge, we have experience, and we have the background to come back and do what's happening over there and move our country forward. And so really that's the driving, is the potential and the need to have an impact, and recognition that you can have the biggest impact where there's where there's the most potential for change.
Well, now, in trying to create this impact, one of the things that you're doing is training people on how to be able to effectively use these drones and technologies. And one of the things that we're talking about is there is a situation where we're so superficial in the way that we use technology. And like we mentioned earlier, it's not news that we have drones in Cameroon, right? And you're just one of the people who are bringing it. So you're going to say, okay, I have a training coming up at SkyVue, and you can come attend and learn how to use drones. And then someone's going to go, but nah, I don't need to attend to learn how to use drones. I could just try and then fly them, and then I'll probably get them. Now, what is the difference? You studied engineering and you learned how to fly drones. So what is the difference between someone who takes their time, train how to use a technology and put it to just work, and someone who says, okay, this is available to me, I'm going to try and see how it works? And which course would you recommend?
So I will tell you that there's no perfect path to anything. Some people start things through passion, and then eventually they do it enough that they figure it out and be like, oh yeah, I love it, and I've done it so much, and I'm an expert, and that's okay. And some people go through the training route. Depends on your drive. Like if it's so from a professional standpoint, if you're in agriculture, if you're a farmer, or you're a topographer, or you are a construction company, or an architect, an entrepreneur, yeah. If you want to improve the efficiency of your services or of your business, then drones are definitely something you want to look into, saying, hey, let me train and figure it out, right? This would be good for you because it'll help you. It'll really help you. Maybe not you, but maybe even the people that work for you is saying, hey, let me train you to use this so you can use the technology and do things better, faster, quicker, safer. Now, the flip side of it is people that are just passionate and say, hey, maybe I want to have a drone and mess around with it. That's okay too. Like there's no perfect answer. Like if you want to get a drone, get one, yeah. And play around with it. You may not even come to the training that we offer. You can just say, hey, I just want to learn and go online and learn like the basic regulations around drones. You can contact us. We'll give you that for free. We can give people regulations. If you go to our website, you can contact us through our website and say, hey, I just want to get information about, hey, what do I need to fly a drone? And we'll give you all the information you need, all the legal expectations and all the limitations, and even give you like the flying drone 101 just so you can fly safely. And then you can get your drone and practice. And then when you feel like, hey, I want to move to the next level, you can contact us, and then we'll take you through the process of learning and then expose you to the different softwares, which is the difference. The difference between just playing around and actually getting professional with it is actually starting to use the softwares to do photogrammetry.
So you've been in Cameroon not too long, and SkyVue Solutions is fairly a very new company.
Yes, it is.
So tell me, what are your challenges thus far? What does business in Cameroon feel like? And what has been your experience as a whole? I mean, where have we welcomed you? And some of the work that you've done already, how wowed were we at it? Or did you knock somewhere and say, hey, I have this service to offer, and they'd be like, sorry, we don't need it. How is business like for someone in this sector?
So I'll tell you that I don't think I've had enough time to answer that question, but
Okay.
I'll give you an answer for now.
Thank you.
For now, I think it first of all, it's a pleasure. It's challenging, but it absolutely is a pleasure to be doing business in Cameroon because there's nothing like being home to me. There's nothing, you can't compare it to anything else. Through all the challenges, it's a pleasure. Now, before I go into the challenges, I'll tell you, I have to recognize the fact that I'm only able to do what I'm doing today because I was blessed, right? I was blessed to be able to travel. I was blessed to get the opportunity to do what I'm doing. I was blessed to have some financial stability that allowed me to come back and create this structure. And so for that reason alone, I have to always recognize the blessings before I talk about the things that are not going so well. Now, the challenges locally are just the culture. It's the biggest challenge is on this working with people differently than the way you work overseas. Like
Yeah.
overseas, things are very clear and said. This is how you do this. This is how it happens. Here's the process. Here, it's not really a process. The process is just what you make it. And so it's learning to work around the little complications of the process. That's one. The second thing is educating people, right? It's like you said, when people are used to doing things a certain way, and then you want to introduce them to something else, it's like there's no interest, and you almost have to show value to people by doing a lot of things for free before you get some return for it, which is part of the game, and that's how we play it.
So let me put SkyVue Solutions to task.
Yes.
Can you give us a solution to our problems? And no, let me ask it this way, because this is something that I ask almost everybody who sits on this chair. And this direction that Cameroon is taking, because sometimes I feel like the world is going this way and then Cameroon is going this way. So, but this direction that we're on, I personally believe that we will not catch up with the rest of the developed world if we stay on this course. But that may not necessarily be a problem. So do we need to stay on this course and create our own reality and our own little world and enjoy it the way it is? Or do we drastically need some changes that can allow us to jumpstart and maybe catch up with where the rest of the world is? Because as at now, we're trailing. But do we stay on course and do our own thing, or do we find a way, some drastic measure, to be able to try and catch up?
So, I think I differ a little bit on my opinion with you on this. Is
Okay.
that I think that we're going to catch up.
Okay.
Because the thing that we fail to understand sometimes, especially when you're in this environment, is the pace of change. Change happens. If you look at the change curve, at the bottom end, there's more potential for change in the bottom, and then the more you advance, the less change can happen. We're at the bottom, and all it would take is a little bit of effort, and a lot of change is going to happen. Because and then the people that are on the top of the curve, they can't change very much anymore. So their change is very slow. Our change is very fast. So it might take some time, but with time, we're going to catch up. All we need, I think, to your point, is that we need a conscious effort to bring about that change. And how does that happen? It's courage. It's more people having the courage to say, you know what? I know this. I am knowledgeable of this. I trust my expertise that I can instill this knowledge into other people. And so if more people have the courage to come back, not just come back, even people here, like, because we make it so much about the diaspora, but it's not. Like, since I've been here, I've learned that I've seen so much potential of our brothers and sisters here. And if we here locally say, hey, we want to bring about change, and we take active steps to do that, and not worrying so much about what is happening or what's not happening. It's about, okay, what is it that I can do personally? What knowledge do I have? I have my neighbor. What are his kids learning? How can I help him develop to be better, or to think about things differently, to have a better mindset? The second thing I would say is culture. There's a culture of competition that I've noticed since I've been here. And it's about, how do I get ahead? I think there's a lot of people that have knowledge, and if we work better together to create things, then I think we're going to move the needle faster than if we're fighting each other. So I think but it's a different mindset. It's a way of thinking that's a little different from what we're used to. Rather than say, hey, it's me against you, it's about, okay, well, we're all professionals, and there's a big market. How do we work together to advance things?
Oh, thank you very much. And this is Raoul Fossi. Before we go, one last question. In your challenges, you mentioned we have to do a lot of things for free for a while before you get people. So are you saying that all services at SkyVue, I could just rush to SkyVue now and get a little thing, and then Raoul will say, okay, it's first time, you can go away, have it your way. How's that going to work?
What I'm saying is that knowledge is free with us. Right?
Okay.
If you have questions, if you have you need information, if you even need some interventions at schools, if you need to talk to children, if we need to come out and study your business, or we're here to educate. That's our goal. Like, our goal is not to be the richest company in the world. The goal is really to have an impact on the world and have an impact on how people work, how people do things. And that's why we put a lot of emphasis on how much we share, how much we educate people around us to do things, do things better. And so we're happy for anyone to come by, stop by our offices and say, hey, I heard about you, I have questions. Can you help me learn this? Can you help me buy this? Can you help me purchase this? Can you help me understand this? Like, all those things are free. Now, we have dedicated trainings that we do for 4 days. We're launching the first training next month.
Okay.
And that's going to be a 4-day training. And that's very specific and clear to the point in our own offices, where we're going to go through the entire process and then give you a lot of practice time. But at the same time, we're very open to just exchanging with people and helping them learn what the technology can do for them.
Thank you very much, Raoul Fossi. And SkyVue Solutions is online on a beautiful website. You could check it out, and you'd find solutions to a lot of the problems that you're facing. And it's www.skyvuesolutions.com. So yeah, that's cool. Thank you very much. You have it right there. So it's been a pleasure having you on today's edition of The Tipping Point, Raoul. Hopefully we'll do some good business together. How about the next edition of the show? We shoot it somewhere with a drone. I mean, that's cool, right?
That'd be excellent.
I just struck a business deal on air. Thank you very much.
Excellent.
It's always been a pleasure. It's fun to have you. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Keep doing great work at SkyVue Solutions.
Thanks.
We're behind you, and some of us would go on that website and do a thing or two and say, okay, this is something to try out.
Excellent.
Thank you. And until some other time, it's bye-bye from this end. I've been Richard Atem-Ojong.